So here's a fun fact. The Giants are the only team that's ever won the Super Bowl in April. If you watch the watch party the replay on Sunday, Anthony and I were hosting a watch party with a bunch of loser trolls in Zoom. But what's going on, guys? Welcome into another edition of the Giants Brawl podcast, brought to you by the Brawl Network. As always, I'm your host for this evening, Usaid Koshal. You can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Usaid Koshal. Follow me on Instagram by the same username too. We got the main people in the house today that make this show possible. Mike Trainer and Anthony Rivard. You can check them out on Twitter at Mike Trainer MFT. And then you can follow Anthony on Twitter at Anthony_Rivardo. And then on today with us, we've got a great guest. What we're doing is a little bit of a special segment. So we got our friend Jules on today, and you can follow him on Twitter. Jules, where can we follow you on Twitter, man?
It's JJules 914718 because I got everything covered between the 914 and the 718 area codes.
All right, how you guys doing today?
Good, man.
Doing well.
Yeah, all right.
Had a nice Easter.
It's good.
Yeah, dude, Easter totally slipped me with all the madness that's going on. I was watching, some Pat Shurmur video popped across my timeline today, and I was like, oh, great, this dude, because he had the boringest press conferences in the world. But anyway, getting into it, we're trying out a new segment here where every week we want some fans to come on. We'll randomly select them. Jules, you're the first one to ever be on this thing, so congrats with that. But let's get right into it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for, we got to give a big shout out to Mike for setting this whole thing up.
Definitely.
That's right.
So, guys, there's just so much to unpack. I mean, we're 9 or 10 days away from the 2020 draft, and there's so much speculation. I mean, if you've been on Twitter or social media the last couple of days, everyone at first was like, oh, go with Isaiah Simmons, right? Then after that, the rumors start surfacing, like Art Stapleton saying, oh, they might go offensive tackle. So we gotta get your opinion, Jules. What do you think this team should be doing at 4th overall?
I'm Team Simmons all day, every day, all right? I think that he's going to be that kind of an impact defensive player. I can't say he's one of the generation like Saquon Barkley was, but if you look at the draft history that we've had with Gettleman, we took Barkley when they were saying go quarterback. We took Daniel Jones a little bit higher than most wanted to, and now all of a sudden we're just going to pump the brakes and take an offensive tackle because everyone else is saying we should. Therefore, I think that this kid, what he did at the Combine, he's been a leader on that team that went to a national title game. All right, he led his team in tackles that game. He did have a sack in that national title game, even though the game was getting a little out of hand, and it wasn't a defensive game where you would see better defensive stats. The kid can play safety, he can play linebacker, he even lined up a defensive end. I mean, how do you miss on a player like this?
You can't miss on a player like this. Everybody's Team Simmons in this group now, I think. I think we pretty much established we all want Simmons drafted. This is the time, man. You got to get a defensive playmaker that's going to be there for the next 8 years, and he's the guy, man. We need help on defense. We let up 28 points on average a game last year. You can't win NFL football games. I mean, we had the lead late in games. We let these guys come right down the field because we don't have nobody to stop guys from scoring on us. We need help, and that's the guy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's definitely the key stat here is the 28 points per game. As important as it is to find that offensive tackle for Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, and I recognize just how important that is, I think that this is a very strong offensive tackle class with a lot of depth where you can find a really nice developmental piece in the 2nd or 3rd round who could potentially be a long-term starter at offensive tackle. And sure, maybe you can find the long-term starter inside linebacker as well, but you're not going to find the stud, extreme versatility, instant day one playmaker who will change your defense in the 3rd round. You're going to find that at number 4 overall with Isaiah Simmons, and that's why I'm going to stay on this Isaiah Simmons hype train until draft night.
Well, okay, so here's the thing, right? You mentioned, the playmaker. I think, one common theme of all the good defenses in the NFL right now, whether you look at, the Bears, for example, they got Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan. The Seahawks have Bobby Wagner. I mean, the Panthers for so many years had Luke Kuechly. Those good middle linebackers made such a difference, and this team hasn't had one since, Antonio Pierce. You need to have a good middle linebacker, and, I cover the Bears. I've seen tons of Blake Martinez. He's more of a run stopper than he is like your kind of do-it-all linebacker. You need a do-it-all type guy, and Simmons provides that. I mean, there's no like Dylan Moses isn't in this class, so he's automatically out. And then you really don't want to gamble on someone like a Kenneth Murray or Patrick Queen because there's a significant drop-off because this middle linebacker class at this point, it's like Isaiah Simmons, and then like Murray and Queen are like linebacker 2 and 3 on most people's boards. And I wouldn't go with Murray personally because he has his limitations. And then Patrick Queen, this is a kid that's like there's a guy that's basically like 20 years old, right? So he's still learning the position. He should be going into like his junior year of college, but he's, only 20. He's got a lot to learn, and he's like the biggest boom or bust prospect.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to pan out for teams taking those guys. You're right. It's a big drop off after that. You have to take the best player available at number 4, and I think he's going to be the best player available there.
And not to mention, with all the criticism involved, Leonard Williams is our biggest name on defense. There's no one else. I mean, what are you going to say? Peppers, maybe. You can say we signed Bradbury, yes, fine. But are those really those type of standout household type defensive names? I don't think so. This kid has that kind of potential. He's a Buckus Award winner. And that's what he now brings to this linebacking core.
I like Dexter Lawrence on the line. But we got to remember, Jules, we're a young team. Maybe these guys grow and mature and become special. That's what every Giant fan is like hoping for. I am. I mean, that's why I got my helmet on, man. I'm fucking protecting myself.
You ready to play strong safety or something?
I'll play anyway. Like I said, be on the field, man. I'm just running around like a maniac.
Why should we draft an offensive tackle when we could take Simmons and put Mike at right tackle right now?
That's it. He's ready to go.
Pass me, man. Jones ain't going down. Not on my watch. I'll pull out a bat if I got to.
All right, so obviously, just moving on here, man. There's a lot to unpack. You're picking at 4, and like everybody wants Isaiah Simmons, except for the small crowd of like Giants fans on Facebook and Twitter that will be like, no, they need to go with a offensive tackle to protect Daniel Jones. But those are the people that don't realize that like, oh yeah, there's like 5 or 6 offensive tackles that will be available at 36th overall that you can take your chances on and you'll be successful. Or like just offensive linemen in general. So Jules, what's your like ideal draft scenario? I mean, I know you want Simmons at 1. What are some like other positions you want to see this team target?
I mean, if we definitely take Simmons number 1 and we get to that second round, a guy like Cesar Ruiz at center is definitely someone that I would be happy with. I mean, he's a New Jersey native. Right now, currently, Spencer Pulley is our starting center, which I am not crazy about. I don't even know who Spencer Pulley really is. I mean, to be honest with you, if he wasn't a Giant, I wouldn't have never known who this player ever was in the NFL. I mean, yes, I know there's a name like Nick Gates that's being tossed around that he can play inside, he can play outside, he can play center. That might be a guy. But to me, you want to talk about a young quarterback that you have and you want to build a foundation with. Well, the center quarterback exchange is one of the most underrated things that take place in the NFL all the time, because if that doesn't go smoothly, that can be a problem. That can create issues. And also, and I know that we discussed this earlier, so I'm just going to re-mention it, is that the center is sort of like the anchor of the offensive line, right? They call certain plays, they point out defenses, they make adjustments at the line. So you would want that as sort of a foundation. We went out and signed, Cameron Fleming to play right tackle for now. The guy's got playoff starting experience. He's been a starter. He's not in every game all season long starter, but he also never really got that chance. He's still in his late 20s. He could have that potential to at least be a fill-in for now that we can look tackle either in that second round if we don't get Ruiz, or perhaps next year in next year's draft.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that's an excellent target if he falls to the second round. I'm not so sure if Ruiz is going to fall there. I'll be keeping my fingers crossed, hoping that he does if we do go Simmons at number 4. And I also really like what you brought up about the center position kind of being like the quarterback of the offensive line. Obviously, you and I did talk about this a little bit before we went live. So, yeah, I don't necessarily trust Pulley either. I think that he's better than Jalapio. I think Jalapio is a bit overrated. He was someone that I had confidence in going into the season, but that quickly died down once I saw a lot of miscommunications all over the offensive line, whether the team was failing to pick up stunts, failing to slide left or right, which is oftentimes the center's job to point those things out. sometimes it'll be the quarterback's job. But when you've got a young quarterback, he might not be so quick to read those things. So you do want a very smart, intelligent, and solid center in that position. So I agree that's one of the positions that I'm hoping they target very early in the draft. Second, third round, I would love it.
I think they definitely draft a center within either rounds 2 or 3. That's a gimme.
Right.
If anybody out there that's listening to the podcast wants to bet that they don't draft a center in the draft, I'll bet that.
Well, here's the thing, right? So every single thing we say on here ends up coming true, whether good or bad, right? So like, see, because I was one of those people that back in like February was saying, oh, they need to go with like consider offensive tackle at 4 because like you got to invest in Danny Jones. And lo and behold, Art Stapleton this past week, right, tweeted saying they might consider an offensive tackle at 4. But anyway, like Lloyd Cushenberry from LSU, Cesar Ruiz, those are your like 2 must-have interior offensive linemen that are going to be available at 36. And you need to go after them. There's going to be a bit of a learning curve just because that's how it goes when you're playing center, transitioning from playing center to from like college to the NFL. There's always a learning curve at like any position, center especially though, because you got to be the one making all the calls. And like granted, the first year 2020 for whoever that rookie center is, it's going to be tough, but like keep in mind that that's like a pick that you're making to help you for the next like 10 plus years, because we've seen certain players like Oyland Krutz was with the Bears way back in the day, for example, struggled his first year and then went on to start and make like multiple Pro Bowls.
Very good point.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they got to have these guys all set, man. Gettleman got to do his homework. He's got that big banner at his house. I don't know if he got any computers there, but he's fucking flipping those binders like a maniac. So whatever it's like, whatever he has to do, just do it, Gettleman. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I love your draft picks, and let's get it, man.
Did you guys see the photo that surfaced like all over Twitter of Gettleman's like desk at home and him just sitting there in the Blue Giants hoodie? Now I saw that and I was like, that's the most Gettleman setup ever, because he's got like a couch and then he's got the desk like right behind the couch.
Yeah, he had a typewriter there, I think.
Trust me, I was looking at that picture. I kept enlarging it, and I was trying to see what he had written in the book on a couple of those shots.
He had, I don't know this much.
Let's break in his house.
Yeah.
Steal his binder. He won't know who to draft.
Dude, he had, I know he had Aveeno lotion right there at his desk, so.
I was hoping someone pointed that out.
Yeah, Gettleman uses Aveeno, guys, so it's probably good for your hands.
Listen, you need a 10-minute break every now and then from doing your homework. I mean,
but here's the thing. Speaking of Dave, right? For all the good draft picks he can have, like he hit on Slayton in round 5 last year, there's also some times where it's like there's draft scenarios you need to avoid, and he can totally be the GM that's gonna like mess things up. What are some draft scenarios you guys are avoiding, like just in the draft in general?
I think I've been very adamant about this one over the past few episodes, and it's Derek Brown at number 4 overall, and I think we're all going to be in agreement on that one. I'll say, yeah, I'm not a big Becton guy either. I don't think that he's worthy of number 4 either, but Derek Brown at number 4 overall is going to cause me to possibly break my television screen.
That's a good point. I mean, I guess for me, it would just be if they don't trade back, right? Because I think that's a key point that needs to be mentioned, is that if we do get some sort of offer to trade back, then taking an offensive tackle 9th, 12th, whatever the case may be, then it makes a lot of sense, because we're either doubling up in the first round or multiple first rounds later in later drafts, or a second round pick. So now at least it makes sense as to why you're doing it in terms of not taking that tackle 4th overall. But the last thing I would want to see is, after making great first 2 picks, I hopefully with the last 2 years, just going on what everyone else is saying we should do, and just take a tackle and take a Willis or Wirfs and play it safe, and just be like, oh great, we have our bookend tackles now for the next 15 years or so. That would kind of be a little bit of a disappointment, because then in the second round, you know what, if Ruiz is there, you might as well take him as well, and then we just take 2 offensive linemen with our first 2 picks. Like, that would be, it could be good, but it could also be a disaster, because if one of them don't work out, then it was a total waste.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you, Jules. Number 4, you can't go offensive tackle. You have to trade back. Like I said before, this this class is so deep with like offensive tackles and interior guys. Like we could wait and develop a guy. We got guys that could hold the fort down for now until the next, do at least next season. If we have a season, I mean, who the hell knows? So get a guy that we could develop, and let's go. Like let's go in the later rounds. There's plenty of them this draft. You can't pass on a playmaker. I'll be very upset if we go offensive tackle. Man, I'm going to root for the guy and hope he does best because he's a giant. I'm not a fucking maniac, but like, I want that guy. I want Simmons. That's it.
Dude, there's like, I think I want to say probably a total of like 10 offensive tackles that should go in the first round. Like the Prince Tanga Wango dude from Auburn, Austin Jackson, Josh Jones from Houston, Ezra Cleveland. There's so many of these guys, but the issue with like 5 of them is that they're all project type players, and they're going to take like a year to develop anyway. So it's like if you're going to spend a pick on an offensive tackle, you might as well do it in round 2, because in round 2, you're just looking for like guys that will eventually become contributors. Your day 1, your top 5, that's where you get your impact players. If they do decide to go trade back and go offensive tackle, like some of y'all are saying, that's cool. But how far do you trade back? Because you are going to get to a point in the draft where it's like you're going to have the Jets, the Browns, the Cardinals. Like those teams are going to be picking, I think, like back to back to back. And you don't want to move too far back because you don't want to risk one of those guys potentially trading up for one of your guys. Or potentially to even taking one of your guys.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. I don't want to see like us missing out because we traded back because everybody else wanted us to. I mean, that's stupid. You know what I mean?
I mean, if they do trade back to about 12 and they're still able to land one of those tackles, I'm not going to complain because say it's 12 and 20 from the Raiders. You're getting those 2 first-round picks. You can get that offensive tackle at 12 if we do. If not, I don't know what the route is there. Maybe you trade down again and you just keep piling assets. But I guess that's one strategy you could take. But I think if you do trade down, it's fingers crossed that you do land that offensive tackle. But then you got to think at number 20, you can get like a solid edge rusher there or a solid. You might be able to snag a Patrick Queen there. He might be a good pick there. You can maybe get a cornerback. I know C.J. Henderson's draft stock is like rising by the minute at this point. But, a week ago, it would have been like, oh, C.J. Henderson there. That would have been a good pick. But I got to say, I'm not so worried about like trading too far back as like a lot of other fans. I think if you get enough picks in return, I would consider moving back to as far as 12.
But like, okay, here's the thing. If you move back like to 12, you're getting, you're going to be getting like 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th rounders and maybe some 2021 picks in the process. So those are going to be guys that you're drafting and you're hoping that 1, they're either hidden gems or 2, they're just depth pieces. Because like when I pull this roster up, I look at it now, I'm like, hey, the foundation is really beginning to form. And this draft and the 2021 draft, it's going to be about drafting guys, adding on to the good foundation that's like already been built. There's still a couple cracks that got to be filled, but still decent foundation. But we got to continue to develop what we already have and then continue to add on to, that entire foundation.
Listen, develop a guy. This is going down too quick. Get a guy that we can develop because next year, like we don't need a guy that can come in next year and immediately help us win a Super Bowl because the coronavirus is just going to wipe that out. We're not going to be able to win a Super Bowl next year because the virus is going to keep us from winning the game. So maybe like 2 years. Get a guy that can practice a full year, and then we win the Super Bowl in 2021 and the 22 season.
I mean, that's a good point because in all honesty, and I think any Giants fan that wants to be realistic, if we have an 8-8 season this year, that's a hats off. It's outstanding. It's not much of an improvement. Maybe we go 9-7. I mean, I can't see this team winning 10 games, although who knows, right? I mean, anything can happen. But the reality is an 8-8 season is a win in my book. And in addition to that, it's not like, we're sitting here talking about 4 offensive tackles that could possibly be first, top 10 picks. When do we talk about offensive tackles this in depth? We're talking that any one of these guys can be that kind of guy. It's not like one of the 4 is really standing out amongst the others. I mean, I've seen Willis as high as us taking him, and then as low as like number 13 or 14. So there's no standout guy. And if there was that guy, like say like an Orlando Pace from back in the day, where like, you know, this is like a surefire Hall of Fame, you can't miss left tackle, then yes, we take him 4. But if we trade back, you know, then we see maybe we trade back and Isaiah Simmons falls to us. Who knows, right? Because they don't have him going at anything higher than Carolina, even though I know when we mentioned earlier, I can't see Miami or the Chargers or anyone like that trading high up. But you never know, right? That's what the draft is all about.
Yeah, anyone can fall. No one thought that Josh Allen was going to make it to the 10th pick last year, or whatever, 7th pick. I mean, we thought he was a top 3 pick for like ever, and he made it all the way to 7 after obviously the Giants passed on him at 6. And Ed Oliver, I think he fell to like number 9. People thought he was a top 5 pick for a long time. It happens every year. There's some standout prospects that just slide. And I mean, Haskins is actually a real prime example. He went all the way to 15. We thought he was going to go top 6. So.
It's the media, man. The media with their mock drafts, they put it, you know, it's all the fake news out.
Yeah, no, dude. Who fell a couple? The 8th overall in 2018, dude. Roquan Smith should have been like, had it not been for all the run on quarterbacks, Roquan Smith should have been like a top 3 pick in that draft class. But like he fell all the way to 8. There's always going to be someone that falls. Anyways, we were supposed to have Jules on for like the first 15 minutes, but we're gonna keep him around just because
Cool.
you know. So you guys saw the McCaffrey extension that came out, that news that Schefter tweeted. I was sleeping at the time, but then I woke up and saw my phone. And the moment I woke up like drowsy as hell, I was like, holy crap, this dude's making $16 million a year.
God bless.
You have Alvin Kamara, right? That's coming up. He's actually extension eligible. I think he was extension eligible on January 1st, according to some people I talked to in the Saints organization that are keeping me updated on that situation. So Kamara's going to get an extension. Dude, Saquon finished up year 2. Next year at this time, they're going to have to pick up the 5th-year option. And they're also going to talk contract extension. It's very likely that Saquon, this hurts the Giants, right, this McCaffrey extension, because if he's getting 16, Kamara's next in line, Saquon could be making 20 to 21 million a year.
Wow. I don't know if I would go that high. Like I think Barkley gets like honestly probably like around 15 mil. Like I don't think he goes higher than McCaffrey. McCaffrey does everything for that team, man. He runs, he catches, he's their offense, and he's been their offense. You know, I don't know, like I don't know if you guys check like the guaranteed money or anything, or if they could cut him after a certain amount of years. I know I haven't, but I would like to hear that kind of info before they give Barkley that, you know, that kind of deal. Barkley's going to get paid. There's no question about it.
I'll say I think it's salary cap suicide for the Panthers, and I think it will be for the Giants, and I think it's just a tough situation that we've put ourselves in. If you go look at those 2 Super Bowl teams that played, how much was Damian Williams getting paid? Was he even making $1 million a year? Who's the 49ers running back? Is it Raheem Mostert? Was he even making $1 million a year? Wasn't he an undrafted or a 7th-round pick? You can get all the way to the Super Bowl with those running backs, those really cheap running backs. And when you're spending $60 million a year on a running back, that's $60 million a year that you're not spending on an edge rusher or an offensive tackle, and you know, or just spreading around to multiple positions of need. Running back, man, I just can't fathom spending so much money on that position in this day and age where it's such a passing game.
They better extend the salary cap.
Oh, dude, I've been told the cap's gonna jump significantly in 2021, but the reason the Panthers were able to like make this deal happen is because one, they're basically like Teddy Bridgewater, right? Is a short solution. He's like a short-term solution for them. He's there for 3 years. He's making his $60 million. He's gonna be gone by the time this contract kicks in, because the way the 5th-year option works for first rounders is, you know, it's essentially if you pick up the option, it's a 5-year contract. If you decline the option after year 3, it's a you know, it's like a 4-year deal basically. And after the end of year 4, the player hits free agency. So what the Panthers did is they basically signed him through 2025, right? When he's going to be 29 at the time. So this deal kicks in like 2022. They have him on his rookie contract making like $3 million a year until the end of 2021. So they really kicked the can down the road here, which is kind of stupid because that's a team that's rebuilding. And so they're probably going to be in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes next year, because Teddy B ain't like the problem. But overall, like it still hurts the Giants because the way the market's kind of going now, like you could pretty much see Saquon. Is he like the type of guy that wants his money? Or is he the team player and that's like, oh, I'll take a little bit less to go ahead and help the team out? And I seriously think like he'll take a little bit less because this is someone that grew up like immortalizing or like just following Adrian Peterson, and AP was always the kind of guy to just take a little bit less to help the team.
One thing I think, and that's a great point because that's exactly where I was going to go with this. What kind of a guy or person is Saquon Barkley, right? If the Giants are in position where they're on the verge of winning, well, is it more important to win and get paid later, or is it more important to get paid, right? And that's where his character will be questioned in a sense where, maybe he does take $12 million. Look, it's still $12 million a year. So he's making $4 million less. And listen, I know that's, not chump change, but if it's $4 million less a year to win a Super Bowl, what's more important, winning or money? Because look, if your money is made and invested properly, you don't have to worry about it. So, that $4 million can be reinvested in a different way. And this guy's on Twitter all the time. He's got a career after football. It's not like he's going to be like one of these guys that like once football's done for him, he's got nothing left. He's got personality. He looks good on a camera. He could continue his career in other ways. Look at Tony Romo. The guy's making more now than he did as a player.
Yeah, he's not Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott has nothing after football. He has nothing to look forward to. You piece of shit. You want to get Barkley.
Oh, did you guys that are in the group chat see what I was going after the Cowboys Brawl guys the other day because the Cowboys and Eagles, they were coming in talking about how, we're going to win the NFC East. Okay. And I was like, sit down. The Giants are probably going to win it because we got the most like stable situation right now. Because again, Washington's an unknown with Ron Rivera. Dallas is starting all over again. And the Eagles, well, it all just depends on if Carson Wentz is healthy, right? And they started getting into, the last time the Eagles won a Super Bowl was this and this and this. And I'm like, just shut up and sit down. Because the Cowboys guys were saying this, right? And I was like, just shut up and sit down. Because the last time your team was relevant and was in the Super Bowl was in like the 90s. And there are kids who weren't even born back then that have graduated high school and finished college. And y'all still haven't won a Super Bowl. And then after that, dude, they kicked me out of the chat. So
I wonder why.
Thank you for representing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mentioned earlier the foundation's being built here. You have like a decent core, but like, what do you guys think is the deepest positional group on this roster right now?
Defensive line, by far.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
I was waiting for him to say that. I knew he'd had it in the back of his mind, man.
I mean, we spent a third and a fifth on Leonard Williams. We spent the first on Dexter Lawrence. We spent a second on Dalvin Tomlinson. We spent a third on B.J. Hill. And obviously the $60 million franchise tag on Leonard Williams as well. And for some reason, I feel like I'm actually missing a piece or two there. R.J. McIntosh and Chris Slayton, both seventh-round picks. There you go. So that's a lot of draft picks and a lot of money that we've spent on this defensive line. It should be the strongest position group when you invest all of that, and it is. It's the best part of our team. I mean, we do have some beastly defensive linemen on this team, and we can't complain too much about that. Though, if we decide to add to that with the number 4 pick, then we can complain as much as we want.
Yeah, I guarantee you guys right now, if Leonard Williams goes off next year on his 1-year prove-it deal, because that's what a franchise tag is, Anthony's going to secretly have a Leonard Williams jersey, but he's going to be on the pod in the fall, and he's going to be like, yeah, Leonard Williams is doing great, and then I'm going to have to go pull the receipts up.
There's no receipts, man. I just said it. Leonard Williams is a beast. I just don't think he was worth a third and a fifth. That's all. I just don't like the situation that we got ourselves in where we traded a third and a fifth to get a guy who was about to be a free agent. That was the problem. If we signed him in free agency for $12, $15 million a year, it's like, okay, but it's the fact that we traded the picks and we had to pay him. That's the problem. The kid's, I mean, he's super talented. He's a beast. I thought he played great in the 8 games that we had him for, and he's going to be great for the next 5 years if we can keep him around, but it's a third of the fifth pick, so I don't know. Pull your receipts if you want, but I'll defend myself.
Yeah, but like, see, the moment that trade went down back in like October when this thing was just starting up and I was helping like put it together, I was like, oh, these Giants fans are going to be mad, but they don't realize that they're getting the 3rd round comp pick for Landon Collins anyway. Now, they're not going to have any comp picks in 2021 because they just spent tons in free agency. But, like, again, they can trade back in this draft and get the extra draft picks that they would have gotten. But the point is it's like, yo, stop bashing Gettleman. And I'm not taking shots at Anthony, by the way. It's just like, stop bashing Gettleman because you have the 99th overall pick in the 3rd round. And there's always going to be, once round 3 hits, like round 3, 4, 5, there's so much wheeling and dealing takes place. Like, you could easily move up and give up like a 2021 5th if you needed to.
I'll actually say real quickly before I let someone else speak, if you do go pull those receipts, I remember the first tweet that I made about the Leonard Williams trade was a reminder about that comp pick that was coming, and I was super positive about the whole thing. I remember really specifically, I was in Publix, which is a grocery store in Florida, if you guys don't know, and I was getting my sub, getting a sandwich. Yeah, Publix is a shit. And I was getting my sub, and the trade happened, and I that's the first thing I tweeted. And then like 3 hours later, I sat down, I looked at it again, I'm like, nah, this isn't it. 99 compared to 68, that's 31 players that you're going to let go by. So I totally changed my mind on that. But if you pull the receipt, it'll actually make me look better.
But like having a 3rd rounder, I get you change your mind because like people's opinions on anything changes with new information. But like going from 36 to 99 sucks. Going from 36 to 68 would have been an ideal scenario, but still having the extra 3rd rounder and going from 36 to 99 is still better than like 36 to whatever you would have been picking at in the 4th round.
I agree. Well, it's 110. It's 11 picks later.
Yeah, exactly. So that would have been like, let me do the math real quick, dude. So like 110 minus 36, right? Yes, that's 74 players, dude, that you're passing on. So that's like 74 Darius Slaytons or something that you're passing on. So I don't know, dude. I think this was still like, just looking at it, as we get back to like the actual question, it was still a win-win trade for both teams, because if Williams finally turns his career around, you're still gonna like to get him for a 3rd and 5th would be like one of the best trades like in recent years.
Great. I'll tell you one position that's kind of getting overlooked as far as like depth or ability is running back. I mean, we have arguably one of the best running backs in the NFL, but then we go out and sign Dion Lewis, who they were saying last year was going to take away from Derrick Henry, and he didn't, right? He did, but he didn't, right? He was still there on the passing down. He's going to be a great, spell to Barkley throughout the season. And Gallman was always stepping up and being a reputable type of back when Barkley did get hurt last year. So, it's a position that's often overlooked. And, yet we do have a lot of depth in that position. And I'd like to see types of sets where we have both of them in the backfield at the same time. Maybe we put Dion Lewis out wide, you put Barkley out wide. I mean, that would confuse the heck out of defenses, in my opinion. It's just an additional way of sort of exploiting our offense, overall.
Oh, you could. I like you brought that up because Lewis is so versatile, right? And like you're right, no one's talking about running back enough. And let's keep in mind, like Joe Judge is from that like New England coaching tree, where for the last 2 years, like was more prevalent in 2018 and 2019. But in 2018, they ran a lot of like James White, Sonny Michel, right?
Yep.
And then you're gonna have on his roster, you'll have Darius Slayton, who's gonna slide into like that Julian Edelman type role and like stretch the middle of the field to open things up for those running backs. And then obviously like factor in the tight ends. I think that Ingram and Caden Smith are gonna be like 2 tight end sets. There's a lot of different personnel groupings, but like people just aren't talking about running back enough. Mike, what do you think?
Dude, New England. Remember, New England had Bolden too. Bolden came out and fucking scored like 3 touchdowns and 1 2. Like you never knew what was gonna come at you with New England's offense. Like these guys just like they played the game, man. They played a team game, and it looks like Judge, like from the first day he got here, he didn't want to mention people's names. He's all about the team, and that's what New England kind of brought. You could kind of see that. So expect guys that you never even heard of just stepping up and making plays, man. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and then that's honestly what you hope for, is just like guys coming out of nowhere and like going on to those starting roles. Like and the thing with the running back position is they do decide to take like a chance on someone. Because the real meat of this like running back, I don't think a running back's gonna go in round 1. Dave and Joe Judge would be stupid to invest in one in day 2. Regardless of, I love Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift, but it'd be stupid to invest in them at 36 because you have bigger needs. But you could I could see them taking a flyer like probably, round 5, 6, or 7, just one of those 3 like right there, because you could find someone. Because we've seen guys like Jordan Howard came out in 2016, for example. He was a number 2 rusher behind Zeke that year in terms of rookie stuff. Ahmad Bradshaw.
Baby.
Yeah, Mike is repping his '07 Giants shirt right now.
Oh, baby.
You guys watched I know y'all watched the game on Sunday, right? With a replay.
Of course.
I felt
You
like I was
really-
watching it for the first time again, man. I was like, who's this Kawika Mitchell guy? He's one of the best linebackers the Giants ever had.
I forgot about him.
Dude, it was. See, I was watching it with Anthony and a couple other guys on Zoom, just because, like, me being here in Chicago, I didn't get the game for some reason. But, like, it was, honestly, it was fun to go back and watch, dude. Because, like, I think for me, the moment David Tyree made that helmet catch, and I tried to invite him onto the podcast, by the way. So if anyone out there that's listening to this has connections with David Tyree, like, help him, help us get him on this pod, because he basically said on Instagram Live, he's like, yeah, I want to come on, but I got to build my social media up first. So fingers crossed on that. But the moment he made that helmet catch, I was like 10 or 11, I was like, yo, this team's winning this game.
Dude, he was making touchdown passes earlier in the game. That dude, like, he stepped up.
Yeah, he was out for the playoffs too, dude. He didn't come in the game or be like seriously game planned for until like 2 days before, you know.
That bringing up that catch again, and being so many years later, I still watch it and go, wait, did he catch it? Did he catch it? And like I'm sitting there watching just to see if the nose of the football hits the ground, if he holds onto it, with Rodney hanging onto his arm. Like that catch, I remember watching it live, and it still hits me the same way today. Like it was just breathtaking. Where I wouldn't celebrate until I officially saw them come on the field and say it was a catch, and then they actually took a snap of the football on the next play, and then I was like, "Oh my God, we caught the ball!"
I'm still waiting. Incomplete. Hit the ground. Those refs are idiots. So what? I mean, dude, that game was insane. We beat the undefeated Patriots. The Patriots were killing everybody all year. Like
yeah, because they cheated
every week. Of course they cheated, but. Like, I made money on them. I was like, yeah, Patriots minus 8.5. I'm taking the Patriots. So, like, they were clobbering everybody.
Well, to sort of piggyback it, I don't mean to, but on the whole betting thing, I went to actually week 17 when we played them in the regular season, and Coughlin was like, you know what? They're playing their starters. We're going to play ours. And I say it to this day, and I'll always say it. Eli Manning walked out after that first play where they did the play action, hit Burris down the sideline, and it was a completed pass. He walked out, the stadium erupts. And he had this like sort of moxie about him that he was never the same quarterback again. And I don't think if that play ever takes place, Eli doesn't win 2 Super Bowls. Like it was that monumental that when we went ahead, I bet week 17, Mike, and kept rolling it all the way to the Super Bowl and the Giants, baby. That was a great year.
Eli was fucking solid, man. That dude had he just didn't give a shit. It looked like he didn't care about being the quarterback of the Giants. He was just like, nah, I'm just gonna go out and throw some balls around, see what happens. Like,
dude, he always did it the right way, you know, which is why like when people come at Eli, sometimes I get pretty annoyed, because like the dude, like I vented last week, and I'm sure Jules listened because he listens every week. Like I vented last week, I was like, this team had terrible rosters, terrible teams, and the dude still came up every single week and would carry your franchise. I don't think I think for a second dude, Eli could have had like 3, had like Jerry Reese been smart with just drafting and like developing talent, but like that didn't happen, honestly. Look, you judge people in this league or quarterbacks, right? Their resumes are built on how many games they win and lose. Eli I get he was 500, but not all of it was his fault. He won 2 Super Bowls, dude. I'm still waiting for like Aaron Rodgers, who I do not like, by the way, and is overrated. And Drew Brees, I'm still waiting for them to win their second Super Bowl.
Never happened.
It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, it's not, dude.
And listen, not for an onside kick. I don't know if Drew Brees even wins that Super Bowl, to be fair.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, right.
And if Peyton didn't throw that pick.
That one too.
Yeah.
That one still hurts me to watch. I'm a big Peyton fan.
Oh, so was I.
And if Plaxico never shoots himself in the club.
Oh, Eli is then 3-line, man. Yeah.
No one see that here.
I mean, like in New York, man, we just have the worst luck with circumstances. If we didn't have that, like, mayor of New York City, like, he had to be on such a high horse. I'm pretty sure I think he's racist. Like, he just wanted to send Plaxico to jail. Maybe he was a Jeff fan or a Cowboys fan, that piece of shit. He had to make a big thing about Plaxico. I'm like, listen, Mayor Bloomberg, the dude shot himself. He didn't shoot somebody else. He was idiot wearing jogging pants in the club. Well, first off, he went to Ahmad Bradshaw's house. Ahmad Bradshaw wasn't making that much money, and he lived in the hood still. So Plaxico was like, I'm his truck. I gotta go pick up Ahmad. Like, it's kind of sketchy neighborhood. I better bring a gun just to protect myself. And he forgot he had it. He kept it in his jogging pants. He shot himself in the leg walking up steps. I mean, that's the kind of luck we had, man. We were like, what, 10-2 before that happened?
7-1, I think. Yeah.
Won it. Then he's like,
something like that.
We had that bye week, and like, I was like, oh, let's go to the club. I'm like, all right, cool, Plaxico. Like, man, get a holster, man. All you had to do was get a holster. You got all this money, just buy a holster.
We'll pay a guy like $300-400 for the night, and he'll walk around with a gun, and that's it. That's your bodyguard for the evening. Like, you don't have to pay him much.
Let him, because Plaxico could have came back that year. It was only like a flesh wound. They were like, all right, he could come back, he could play in the playoffs. But no, Bloomberg had to fucking be a dick. Remember, do not vote for fucking Bloomberg. I don't care. Fuck him. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna. So what I do to promote the pod every week on Snapchat, because I promote it on my personal one, right? Is I cut out like a teaser and throw in like the logo and everything. I'm gonna cut that out tonight, Mike, and post you a little rant on my story. So, all my friends and coworkers can see, dude.
Fuck Bloomberg. Yeah, get a nice picture of my fucking helmet, man.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah, but anyway, moving on, dude. I know I mentioned the Art Stapleton rumor, like, beginning of the podcast. Obviously, he's been coming out the last couple of days and saying, well, the Giants, don't rule them taking out an offensive tackle at 4th overall. I know, like, everyone in this podcast, in this chat room right now, we're all opposed to it because we see the potential of having a game changer on defense, and you need that because, like, the defense, it's at a better, like, it's just better, the foundation for it's better right now compared to the offense, right? But I think we'd be crazy to not talk about that rumor. I think personally, I'm not putting too much stock into it because Art's the most credible, like, Giants reporter out there that's on the beat. Anthony's going to be more credible than him. Just give it a couple of years. But the deal is this, right? Is that, like, I think it's just the Giants organization saying certain things because they don't want the word to get out because, like, coaches, front office guys, GMs, like, they will straight up lie to the media's face at this time of year.
I think that's a good point because I think there's a lot of conflicting reports. Like, we do have Art Stapleton saying offensive tackle, and we have a few other guys saying that, but I know Matt Miller from Bleacher Report, who has, like, different sources from all over the country, is saying everything that he hears is pointing towards Isaiah Simmons at 4. And then there's a few other guys who are saying Isaiah Simmons on NFL.com. So it's really hard to decipher, and, like, I want to believe the New Jersey beat writers over everyone else because I feel like I should trust them more since they're more in there, they're actually in New Jersey talking to the people, so I feel like I want to trust them more, but at the same time, you do have a lot of really big media outlets that are saying the complete opposite, so it really could all just be a smokescreen, and one thing that I do really like about it is we don't know. We have no idea. 2 years ago, we knew it was going to be Saquon. Even if we didn't want to admit it last year, in the back of our heads, we knew it was going to be Daniel Jones. We all knew, and once it happened, we were like, shit, it really happened, and now we're all happy about it, right? But, we knew it was coming. We just didn't want to believe it. This year, we really don't know what's coming. We're just over a week away, and I really wouldn't be shocked if they go offensive tackle, and I wouldn't be shocked if they go Simmons just because there hasn't really been any reports or any reporters being so adamant about who they are taking. Everyone is really kind of in the dark about this, and I think that's a really good thing because I think obviously you keep leverage by, keeping things on the wraps.
It could be a smokescreen. Maybe the Giants, like, told Art, like, hey, put it out there that we're going to go offensive tackle so nobody jumps ahead of us to get Simmons. Maybe the Giants paid Art to say that. Maybe they gave him, like, 5 double cheeseburgers and be like, here's 5 double cheeseburgers. Say we're going to take an offensive tackle so nobody jumps ahead of us. Like, remember, like, teams jump ahead of us, get Conklin to get Leonard Floyd. Like, Giants are, like, after that happened, that fiasco, they're throwing out different scenarios to everybody. So don't believe everything you hear out there.
No, it's a good point, especially in this draft in particular, with it being so sort of like scrutinized under a microscope because there's no sports going on and everyone's paying attention. Even the novice fan is like, oh my God, I can't wait for this NFL draft. yeah, you might have to do these little smoke screens because there's no other way. Because if not, if you start leaning towards something, just like Mike said, Detroit's been the number one team to, be the ones that would trade back. Who's to say that they wouldn't trade back and let a team jump in and grab a Simmons, right? I mean, for that, that much. So, knowing that there's so much depth with tackle, a guy like Simmons would be more protected by you blowing out smoke screens saying that, yeah, we're going to go with an offensive tackle with that 4th overall pick and we're not even trading back.
Dude, what it is this, right? So, like, the organization got, like, the way these rumors spread, right, is the fact that, like, oftentimes the organization will intentionally leak stuff because they want, like, certain things getting out, or sometimes it'll just be some douchebag within the organization that's got, like, loose lips who will, like, leak it out there to, like, the agents every time these guys like Adam Schefter and whatnot tweet per source, like, most of the time they're just getting the information from agents because agents are, like, they're, like, the main contact for, like, players and teams. They're, like, the bridge, so I think, like, it's really up in air at this point, dude. You could have easily seen someone in the Giants organization kind of leaking it just to let the word get out there to make people believe that this is what's going to happen. But then you also could have, like, they legitimately could be interested in a tackle at 4. And I don't know, maybe, like, Art's got better sources than any of us. But just when draft year time comes around, whether it's, like, 2021 or, like, the year 3000, don't hang your head too much on any of this stuff because, like, you don't know what's going to go down. Like, I'll give you guys an example is that everyone thought it was going to be Sam Darnold that won a couple years ago, ended up being Baker Mayfield. No one saw, dude, anyone trading up for, like, Patrick Mahomes, but the Chiefs, that ended up happening. And then, I think, let's talk about the advantage of this. I think if you take an offensive tackle at number 4, you're doing so because you're following the trend that, like, every team that drafted a quarterback the last couple of years, when they go into the second offseason, they do whatever they can to invest in the quarterback, right? So if you take OT and you pass on Simmons, I'm not going to be mad because I'm going to see it as you're investing in Daniel Jones, who's your future.
I agree. I won't be very upset about it either. I just think that the better route is to trade down, try and get some extra picks if you're going to go offensive tackle. But then again, I'm not a GM. I'm not really, I'm not an NFL executive, so I could be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times before. So if they go offensive tackle, it's the Giants. I'm going to trust them. I'm going to hope that they know what they're doing, even though sometimes it feels like they don't. I'm gonna trust them, and if depending on which offensive tackle they go for, maybe I'll be really happy on draft night. We'll see. But I do like some of these tackles more than I like others. So, yeah, I'm excited though.
Hopefully, we don't have no leakers in there, man. Like this time around in Gettleman's era. I mean, I know Jerry Reese in his era, like there was leakers all around. Maybe Jerry Reese was the leaker. Maybe he just roamed the streets, got hammered, and started telling everybody, "Hey, I'm going to draft Leonard Floyd or Conklin." And
you guys.
I work for Tennessee. I work for the Bears. Why are you telling me this? Are you?
Guys, though, like the Giants. I will say this though. Reese had, I want to say, like 3 or 4 leaks a year. Okay. It just seemed like every other week during the draft process, there was a leak coming out. And this coming from someone that's, like, written about the NFL and covered specific teams for, like, multiple websites. Yeah. But, like, you guys dodged a bullet, dude, by, the Reese leak. Because, like, let's just say he takes Leonard Floyd at 9th overall, he does not trade back. What you're basically doing at that point is, like, you would be taking a guy that had, like, 7.5 sacks over a 3-year period, and he had 7 his rookie season. Because I've seen Leonard play, like, up close.
Yeah.
The dude will never turn into, like, a double-digit sack or like pass rusher. I mean, he's good run support. He's good in coverage. Those are, like, 2 underrated things that you don't find in a lot of pass rushers nowadays. But, like, still, just if you're drafted in top 10, you're a pass rusher. Your job's to get after the quarterback. Floyd didn't do so. That was the only good Jerry Reese leak that this team dodged.
Listen, I'll give you a title for this podcast. Jerry Reese, Gossip Girl.
I was planning on naming it something like Super Bowl Champions, but I might do, like, Reese's Gossip Girl or something, dude.
What about fuck Mike Bloomberg? I think that's a good one.
Yeah, I know. I like that one actually.
Yeah, I don't, dude.
Like
I don't.
Dot.
Fuck them both. Fuck Bloomberg and fuck Jerry Reese.
Yeah, I don't want to get too political though, because you're always gonna have someone dude that gets like super offended, like the dude that was coming at us last week, because he just couldn't interpret like, what we were saying, and then it was like I was pretty sure it was like 1 a.m, and Anthony and I were like, "What the hell is this, dude?"
Yeah, don't come at Ant. That's bullshit. We'll come right back.
Listen, no, if someone has a problem with something that I say, we promote the Twitter, at the beginning and the end of every podcast, and I always say, if you want to come talk football with me, go ahead. And I'm happy that I was able to speak with the guy. I just wish he would have tweeted directly at me instead, and like actually maybe message me for clarification rather than trying to expose me like publicly, because I did have a pretty clear and reasonable explanation for him, and I just wish he gave me a chance to explain myself first before he decided to try and like put me on blast. But I really don't have a problem with it. I trust. I didn't say anything wrong. I just maybe I wasn't specific enough with the word choice, and so I apologize if I did offend anybody with that. If anybody even knows what we're talking about right now, so I apologize if I offended anybody. But but if I just come to me first next time, I guess. I'm happy we were able to sort it out, and I was able to explain myself. That's part of the beauty of social media, is I can clarify on any mess ups that I make, though I don't think I messed up. I just, I'm happy I got to clarify myself, though. And yeah, sorry if anybody was offended by that one. It surprised me that somebody was, though.
It was, and Haskins sucks. He's a Washington Redskins. He's going to suck for the next 10 years.
Listen, it's not even about that. It's the guy wasn't reading the playbook, so they thought he was dyslexic. But it's only offensive for me to like bring that up if he is dyslexic, but he's not dyslexic. So
right. That was the big rumor.
He's not dyslexic. So like, what? I don't understand.
He knows his ABCs. Trust me, and his X's and O's. Well,
exactly.
Maybe he doesn't know his X's and O's. Maybe that's a problem. He knows his ABCs, but not his X's and O's.
Yeah. So
that kid just doesn't have the mental, like he's got all the physical tools to play quarterback, just like play football in general, but like he doesn't have the mental makeup to play like quarterback at this level, because like let's be real, the only reason this kid went in the first round is because Ohio State had a defense that year that was like Nick Bosa, Chase Young, Jeffrey Okuda, guys like Jordan Poe, Sam Hubbard, all these other guys that are basically in the NFL right now, which is why, and Urban Meyer, honestly, and McLaurin, that's the only reason, dude. But these 1-year starters are like really successful in the NFL. Like Haskins knows football. He just doesn't know how to play it. And this is coming from someone who has to freaking deal with Trubisky. So y'all know that I know like what I'm talking about.
Take his word.
Well, listen, if it wasn't for Haskins lighting up Michigan like he did in that game and not breaking Drew Brees' record for the Big Ten, those were two things that really pushed him up the draft board. Had he not done that, he probably wouldn't even been drafted in the first round, to be honest.
Dude, he would have been like a fringe third rounder for me, and that's like me giving him a generous grade. So, just like, I don't know, dude, the rest of the NFC East is just like a freaking crapshoot at this point, and we're approaching our 1 hour mark, but like last topic. So what do you guys think the goal should be like for the rest of this offseason? Do you want to go ahead and continue to invest in your quarterback and, the offensive line, or like the quarterback and the running back that you drafted in back-to-back years? Or would you want to go ahead and say, let's just invest in defense?
Invest in the defense, because I think when you invest in the defense, you're investing in the whole team, and that includes the quarterback and running back, because the quarterback is going to have to be on the field a lot more if the defense is on the field for 2 minutes at a time, letting teams score instantly, and that's the main problem. I want a defense that can get the opposing team off of the field, and we don't have that right now, and we haven't had it for a couple of years, and it's been really, really difficult for our quarterbacks that we've had and it sounds really weird saying quarterbacks now, because it's always been quarterback with Eli, but now it's quarterbacks. But it's been difficult for our quarterbacks when they get off of the field and then they're right back on, and they don't have any time to adjust, game plan, maybe correct some errors. There's nothing like that, and you're asking them to do so much more than you would if you had a defense that can actually keep it like down. If you can have like a 14-13 game in the fourth quarter, you can actually bet on one of our quarterbacks then. I mean, I always bet on Eli in the fourth, but a lot of the times it's like 35-20, and we're trying to climb out of this big hole because our defense is getting lit up. So just invest in the defense. That's what I want to see. And yeah, I think I made my point.
Absolutely, like defense, man. Like you said, man. Like we got to invest in. We haven't had one. I mean, you look on Sunday, at Easter Sunday, and if you watch the 2007 game with that ferocious pass rush, and the Giants won Super Bowls on that backbone. We always had like good defenses. Like even when I was a kid growing up, it's always about the defense. I mean, we don't win the Super Bowls without a good defense. And the Giants, they got to get back to it. I understand it's a different game. You got to have all these, playmakers on it. Giants got playmakers on offense. They're okay. They could score points. Like we need to be able to stop these teams, man. It's they invest in the defense, right, Jules?
Absolutely no. I couldn't agree more. Listen, every Super Bowl has had an amazing defense. I don't care what you say, even about our 9-7 team that won that Super Bowl. They still had an amazing front four. Like, we always had a good defense. They put that 86 team, if you really want to go back, and they said that the 86 team was one of the best defenses of all time, at least top five, right? We've always won with defense. So now, all of a sudden, we need to have this offensive tackle to protect our two assets on offense. I'm not buying it. It's about the defense. And if this kid Simmons, and I'm going to bring it up again to close, is the guy, then that's who we should definitely move forward with, because we need a name player on that defense. Like I mentioned earlier, there's not one household name on that defense yet. And there can be, Leonard Williams, a few other guys that are definite, prospects and possibly can be. But this is the way we should move forward. I have to say this with all honesty.
Edelman's a defensive guy, and the past 2 years, like in the first round, like not included Dexter Lawrence, he drafted Barkley, future running back. Drafted Daniel Jones, future quarterback. So now it's time for him to get back to his roots and go defense and get that playmaker on the opposite side of the ball, man. It's about time.
And I'll say that's a good point, because we can keep going back further. Our first pick last year was Jones. Barkley the year prior. First round pick the year prior. Someone remind me, Engram, right? And then the year prior to that, who was it in 2016? I think that was Eli. No, that was second round. So it was Eli Apple 2016, but in 2015 it was offense again, offensive tackle, and Eric Flowers. 2014 Odell, that's offense again. 2013 was that Justin Pugh, that's offense again. 2012 David Wilson, that's offense again. So yeah, real quick math here. Yeah, I know. It's so much offense every single year. How do you expect this defense to get good? There's no homegrown talent on this defense. So let's do it this year. Let's invest in the defense with that top 5 pick. I don't want to have another top 5 pick next year, but if we do, then let's get that stud offensive tackle, I guess. But let's invest in the defense finally. Let's make a real change here.
Damn right.
Here's the look.
Don't forget too, you had Will Hernandez as a second round pick in one of those drafts as well. So it was like offense. Like it just hasn't stopped. You're right.
A lot of offense.
So, I'll give my opinion on this, and I'll speak from like a neutral perspective. But if you remember, Gettleman joined the Panthers in 2012, and his first draft pick was an impact linebacker from Boston College by the name of Luke Kuechly. And that really set in stone, like, the Panthers' defense. Like, the moment they picked Luke Kuechly, you were like, all right, the Panthers' defense has, like, this team's going somewhere. Dave, you have an opportunity to select an impact middle linebacker that I think in a lot of cases can be better than Luke Kuechly, because Simmons reminds me of some guy named Brian Urlacher, by the way. Although there is a bit of a drop off, right? But the point is the fact that, like, he's, front seven, all right, good defensive line is what he had in Carolina, and then he had a good linebacker, right? You have your pass rushers that are equivalent to the guys you had in Carolina. So just go ahead and get your middle linebacker, because you're not, players like Simmons, they come once in a lifetime. And I don't want to hear this argument of let's go offensive tackle at 4th overall and then go ahead and select Dylan Moses in 2021, because Moses is really dominant too. If he was in this draft class, he would be the linebacker 1 for some people. But the point is, you don't know if you're going to be in a position next year to get Dylan Moses, right? So you need to get your guy right now, and that's going to be Isaiah Simmons. So I know that I've said this repeatedly, invest in Danny Jones. Do that in the later parts of this draft, because this is a deep offensive draft. For like defense, the two most important positions, which are pass rusher and linebacker, those are just two top-heavy classes or positions.
They'll have plenty of opportunities to get these guys. Absolutely right.
Definitely, especially with that second round. There's plenty of talent that can be developed that's there in that second round that can help that offensive line.
Agreed. Let's get that star defender finally. Let's invest with our first-round pick in the defense. We don't do it very often, as I just listed. Let's do it this year. Let's turn this team around.
You better listen, gentlemen.
Look how good this guy looks in blue. That's all I'm saying. Look at him. He looks cool to wear blue.
He looks like a stud. Looks like a real stud.
He does. Yeah, look good.
Get him. Get him, gentlemen.
Anyways, we're hitting that 1 hour mark, and I gotta be at work at 5:30 in the morning. So, yeah. Lucky, dude, I swear, dude. I work at Starbucks, right? And this is so bad, dude. There's a freaking line out the damn door. Like, okay, so we open at, let me see, 6 in the morning, right? We're like one of 4 in the area that are open, and the line, dude, is around the friggin' bank for the drive-thrus, around the bank, onto the street and onto the intersection, to the point where the freaking local police are calling us and are like, yo, you guys need to like get this thing figured out. So
don't it is what it's like Maxwell House at home. Can't they make their own coffee? Like, you know, Folgers in a cup. Like, no, like just brew it.
They should be, dude. Okay, I did the calculation. So an average cup of coffee is like what, $3, right? You could go to Target, dude, get a garbage coffee maker for $20, get the beans at the grocery store like already ground up for like $10, and you could have the same amount of coffee, right, that you would spend in a month anyway. Same. Or like it would be the same price basically.
I saw 4 of us open up a coffee joint. Like, state we are. One in Chicago, Florida, and 2 in New York.
Nah, but anyway, you know, throughout this whole time, dude, like, it's been so crazy at work, but I'm gonna go on record and say this, and I don't care what the hell the rest of y'all think. I got, like, arguably the greatest coworkers in the world, great people, so, yeah, but we're gonna go ahead and get out of here, so follow me on Twitter at Usaid Kosho. Follow me on Instagram by the same name too. Anthony, they can follow you on Twitter at Anthony_Rivardo. I don't know why I literally just botched that, but whatever. We're gonna keep this thing rolling. Follow Mike for the randomest of rants about anything on Twitter at Mike Trainer MFT. And then you can follow Jules on Twitter at JJules914718. We're gonna be back next week with like a NFL mock draft or something. But Jules, thanks for being on here, man. We'll
thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Future.
Listen, hopefully I'll be on again sometime in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely. But for now, though, we'll see you guys next week, which is gonna be like 3 days before 48 hours, right?
Yeah.
Before Isaiah Simmons becomes a Giant.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, all right. See you guys.